In this video, I'm going to be running through something that I'm seeing way too often across a broad spectrum of Google Ads accounts. So this can be anyone from doing 100k a month to over 3 million a month, like some of the accounts that we're managing. I see this problem all the time. The situation is that most e-commerce brands that are running Google Ads are completely over-reliant on Performance Max and standard shopping. They're getting all of their revenue from the shopping placements via Google, and as soon as they try and launch Google search, it falls flat and they don't bother running it anymore. They spend thousands on different keywords and ads, and they think, okay, well, maybe search just isn't right for us. But there are 3 specific bottlenecks that I'm seeing consistently across e-com brands that they're not really considering when they're trying to run search on Google Ads. And this video is going to highlight exactly why, if you're in a shopping first mindset, you could seriously be holding back your ability to scale on Google Ads. So diving in, before we can talk about ad rank, we need to understand something called quality score. Now, there is 3 important factors that make up your quality score. First of all, what is quality score? It is a column that we can pull in Google Ads, which I will show you shortly. But it's basically a score out of 10 on how good the quality is of your ads, your landing pages, and a whole host of different things for that particular keyword. It's really, really important, as this dictates how much you need to pay to be at the top of the page. But firstly, how do we get a good quality score? That's the first thing that we need to get over. So quality score consists of 3 things. It's your expected click-through rate, your landing page experience, and your ad relevance. Now, it's important to note that expected click-through rate and ad relevance are very much on the same page. If your ad is relevant, you're more likely going to have a higher expected click-through rate, and then landing page experience is a separate one. So if we actually dive into a Google Ads account now, I'll show you actually how you can pull these in to see how you're doing on these 3 different metrics. So if I dive into this search campaign here and I dive into the keyword level, once we're at a keyword level, we'll need to add in these 3 columns. If you come up to the column section in the top here and then modify columns, now the 3 metrics that I told you about was expected click-through rate. That's the first one. We'll have landing page experience, not the historical one, just the core metric here, EXP. And then obviously ad relevance as well. Once we've got those pulled in at the bottom, we can save. And if you do want to save that column set, you can name it as well to keep it there next time you come back. Bear in mind that these columns won't show if you're looking at an ad group or a campaign level. They'll only be there when you're looking at keywords. So if you suddenly panic and think they're gone, it's because they only show up at a keyword level. So if we scroll along to see these, in this particular example, in this campaign, you can see that all of these are above average, except for the ad relevance. A couple of these are below, so that might suggest there's something for us to work on. But an even better example that I have here is if I dive into the other campaign and then dive into a keyword level. So as you can see here, looking at these keywords, we do have a selection. We've got some that are above average, some below average, some just average. So these are the ones that we're going to have to work on. And obviously the 4th column as well that we're going to want to pull in, that I mentioned in the beginning, is your quality score, as this is going to be what is as a result of the 3 other metrics that we've just pulled in. Now, a great rule of thumb when looking at your quality score is that anything under a 7 out of 10, obviously the higher the better, but at a minimum, anything under a 7 out of 10 you really need to be working on, because you're probably paying a lot more to rank higher than you need to. Because you're probably paying a lot more to achieve the same rank than you need to be. So as you can see here, our highest spending keyword has a quality score of 8 out of 10. And that's even with a below average ad relevance. If we manage to bump that up, I reckon we could get our quality score to 10 out of 10, which would be the most efficient. But the ones that we really need to be paying attention to are these ones where we're at like 5 out of 10. And you can see that our expected click-through rate is below average and our landing page experience is average. Now, what this will mean, if we dive into expected click-through rate first, so this keyword here is one that we're really going to have to pay attention to, that's at 5 out of 10. Now, if we look at the expected click-through rate, we can see that this is below average, so this really needs some work. Landing page experience is average, and the ad relevance is above average. Now, to break down specifically what each of these mean, we can see expected click-through rate measures how likely it is that your ad will be clicked on when shown. So this is based on your past click-through rate performance. So over time, if you manage to improve the click-through rate on an ad, your expected click-through rate will come up. And that's often why when you start to see an ad getting more traction and getting more clicks, suddenly your bids can often drop. So that's first one, that's expected click-through rate. The landing page experience, as you can see, this estimates how relevant and useful your landing page is to people who click your ad. It takes into account factors such as how well your landing page content matches a person's search term and how easy it is for people to navigate your page. So for example, if you have a lot of people bouncing off of your page, this can negatively impact your landing page experience. You will also often find that brands that are really pushing their SEO will naturally have a higher landing page experience because the keywords on the page are a lot more relevant. So that is another reason why focusing on SEO is actually very beneficial to your Google Ads account as well. So lastly, we have ad relevance. Now this is closely linked to expected click-through rate, because if your ad isn't relevant, you'll probably have a lower click-through rate, resulting in a lower expected click-through rate. But just to look at the ad relevance here, it's kind of an obvious one. It measures how closely your keyword matches the message in your ad. So a good example here is if you're an account that's running only 1 or 2 ad groups in a search campaign, and you're running maybe 1 or 2 ads maximum within that, but you've got a whole broad spectrum of different keywords, it's likely that your ad isn't going to be relevant to an abundance of those keywords within the ad group. This will be a big reason why SKAGs, or single keyword ad groups, used to be so popular, because then your ad was brutally relevant to the keyword that you were targeting. Now, I don't think you have to go quite that extreme, but at least having niche keyword themes broken down at an ad group level is a really great way to start improving your ad relevance, and as a result, your expected click-through rate. So a good example of these niche ad groups, let's say you're a fashion brand and you sell dresses. You can often look into the keyword planner to see what kind of extra terms people are searching for your particular product. But you could have people searching for floral dress or mini dress or a specific size, a specific color. Anything as granular as that, you can be pulling out at an ad group level, and then the ad within the ad group can be really laser focused on that particular search term, and that is going to naturally allow you to get cheaper clicks by having a better expected click-through rate, a better ad relevance. And obviously, if you can even get a niche landing page as well, so you could have a landing page specifically for red dresses, that's going to be even better. You can get above average across the board, a 10 out of 10 quality score, and your bids are going to be so much cheaper to rank at the top of the page than had you not done this and just run it really broad. Okay, so now that we understand quality score and the 3 things that dictate that, we can now understand the things that dictate our ad rank. So this is literally dictated by your quality score times by your bid or your CPC. So if you have a quality score of 5 out of 10 and a CPC or bid of around £2, you have a theoretical ad rank of 10. But let's say a competitor comes in and they have a quality score of 10 out of 10, but they're only bidding £1.50. Their ad rank theoretically is 15, which is a lot higher than yours, which means they can rank higher and they've paid less for the bid. So obviously it's a win-win for them. So this is the importance. If we're trying to run and scale search campaigns on Google Ads, we need to be conscious of our quality score and conscious of our ad rank as a result. We've had Google Ads brands come on board and we've seen this issue where their quality scores are really low. And once we've improved all of these metrics, we've been able to scale them ridiculously quickly through Google search campaigns. So moving on to bottleneck number 2, and that is your website conversion rate. Now, before you jump off the video and think this one is really obvious, there's a more niche thing that I want you guys to be paying attention to when we're looking at the conversion rate and how this affects our search ads specifically. So as I mentioned in the beginning, most brands are very reliant on shopping ads or PMAX, and PMAX is obviously heavily reliant on shopping ads as well. And all of these shopping ads are going to be sending traffic more than likely to your product pages. And 90% of e-com brands that we see, the most effort that they put in when it comes to optimizing is into their product page, and rightfully so, because this is the final point before someone ends up adding to cart and making a purchase, so it's very, very important. So this is often why you'll see shopping ads and PMAX do so well. But when we have search ads, most search ads go to collection pages because people's search terms are not quite so specific. They're not after an exact product most of the time. It's broader and they're more likely going to land on a collection. Now, this may not be the case for your brand, but the vast majority of brands that we have had come on board or that we've audited, they've always put all the effort into their homepage and the product page, but they don't pay enough attention to their collection pages and how well they're structured for people to actually end up clicking on a product. Now, if you're running on Shopify, which most brands are these days, there's a really great way that you can check this. So diving into the Shopify Analytics tab here, this is a brand that we managed to hit 1.5 million for in November just gone last year, which is a absolute stonker of a month. As you can see, 152% up year on year. But this isn't what we're paying attention to in this instance. If we come down and look at the sessions by landing page, this is the important report we want. If you click into this, so we'll come into the sessions by landing page report, and obviously there'll be a whole load of different pages listed here. Homepage being at the top because that's obviously the most landed on page. There's a lot of different things here, but we need to cut a lot of it out just to see the core things that we want to focus on. And so if we come into the metrics on the top right hand corner, we can get rid of this sessions with cart added, and we can get rid of sessions that reached checkout. So looking at the dimensions as well, we can also remove this landing page path. You can keep this in if you want to see the specific URLs and what the conversion rates are. But in this instance, I just want to compare product pages versus collection pages. So we'll get rid of that. And then the final thing is to add in the metric of conversion rate. Now, once we've done that, at the table at the bottom, you can see product here, which is our product pages, and we can see that this has a conversion rate of 0.81, but our collection pages have a conversion rate of 0.65. If I actually look over a 30-day period rather than a week, I had a better example here. It's 0.73% on the product pages, which is largely driven by PMax and shopping, but the collection page is 0.54. So that is almost a 50% increase in conversion rate between the collection page and the product page. Now, if you're wondering why these conversion rates are rather low, it's because this is a very high ticket brand. Our AOVs are around the £400-500 mark, so this kind of conversion rate is to be expected. But yeah, comparing collection versus product page from 0.54 to 0.73 is a significant jump. So obviously, if you're going to be running search ads, you need to make sure that your collection pages are optimized. Check your bounce rates. Are people actually scrolling and clicking on a product? Think, is it easy to navigate? Are people finding your top performing products near the top? Are they having to scroll too far? Just make sure that you're optimizing these pages effectively if you want to be scaling search ads in 2026. Now, finally, bottleneck number 3 is your AOV and margins. The first point that I'd just like to make is that if you're a brand that's not even subscription related, but you've got an AOV of 20 to 30 pounds, it's highly likely that search campaigns are not going to work too well for your business. But if you're a brand that's got 2, 3, 4, 500 pound AOVs, then it's likely that search campaigns could be the biggest chunk of your business. And this will largely be due to the fact that search campaigns often have higher CPCs than shopping, and that's why it often doesn't work for these smaller AOV brands. But beyond just AOV and looking at ways that we can increase our AOV, it's actually looking at the margins themselves. Now, the reason that I bring this up is because we had a brand who was really struggling to scale on search ads. They sold quite a broad spectrum of different products in quite a competitive niche. They ran a very broad spectrum of different products, but they went about it the wrong way. They thought that the strategy would be, okay, if we can just be as cheap as possible, we'll get more volume and as a result be more profitable. But this really did not work. So looking at scenario 1, in the beginning they had an AOV of around £60, and after their VAT and cost of goods, this gave them a ex-VAT margin of around 40%. And if you look here with a 50 grand monthly budget and a target ROAS of 5.8, which at this point was very difficult to achieve based on the cost of the clicks via a search campaign. And as you can see, if we did achieve that, the monthly profit would be £46,000. And what we kind of eventually realized is, okay, we need to be able to bid more. And at the point, our quality scores and our ad ranks were great, so it was a case that we needed to be able to bid higher. but we simply weren't able to justify the price of the click because we just weren't getting the profit off of the back of it. And so at this point, we decided to start incrementally increasing our prices. Now, obviously, the reason you want to do this incrementally is because a very big price increase at once can often very negatively impact your Google Shopping ads. So if you're very reliant on shopping, then just be careful with how you approach this. But we started to gradually increase our price until we saw no negative effects off the back of it. And we got to the point where our AOV with a few other website changes got up to £90. And at this point, the cost of goods and VAT was similar, but our ex-VAT margin was now 60%. And so in order to spend 50k and achieve that same monthly profit of £46,000, we only needed a 3.8 ROAS, which meant we could bid a lot more aggressively and now start ranking higher in the search ads. So as I say, a lot of brands are reliant on shopping, in which case this might not work. But if you're looking to scale search ads, you need to be conscious of your pricing. There's a great quote that I like from Alex Hormozy, where he says that if people aren't complaining about your prices aren't high enough yet. Now, obviously you want to take that with a pinch of salt, but it's a good mentality to have to start looking at things and be like, okay, am I pricing myself too cheap? Or do I need to start increasing my prices so that I can actually get my foot in the door when it comes to the auction and how much we need to be bidding? And a couple crucial points that I have here when it comes to your AOV and your margins. So I see this a lot on sort of brands around the £40-50 AOV mark, is that they just give away free shipping for almost no reason other than to try and increase their conversion rate. We've ran many tests on this, and free shipping doesn't make a massive difference to your conversion rate on many occasions. So quite often you're just losing margin by giving shipping away for free. Now, what I think the whole reason that you should be giving away free shipping for is to try and increase your AOV, not increase the conversion rate. You should be setting thresholds. If they reach X amount, then they will get free shipping. Say you're currently sat at around an AOV of £55. You can now implement a banner that says you get free shipping on all orders over £65, and just try to encourage people to add something extra to their basket and ultimately get you more profit on that same order. This is the instance that I think free shipping is worthwhile. And then point number 2, like the example that I just gave, lower prices does not equal more sales and as a result more profit. It is very much the case that you need to price yourself as high as you can to make the most margin, but without completely removing yourself from the competition. If a brand pulls their prices down so they're 20% lower than the competition, but now they've lost all their margin and they can't even afford to be on the first page in the first place, there was absolutely no point in making that price change. So don't lower your prices for the sake of it and assume you're going to get more sales off the back of that change. And then point number 3 is that low ROAS does not mean low profit. I see a lot of people looking at YouTube videos online and thinking that a 2 or 3 ROAS is bad, but it's completely dependent on the business and the margins that they're running. It may be the case that they're a subscription brand and they're making profit on the orders that come through later, or they're a really high margin fashion brand with 70-80% margins on the clothing that they sell. It's completely dependent on the business and the margins that you're running. So like the example that I gave here, you can hit a lower ROAS and still make more money. You just need to be clever with how you price and make sure you're giving yourself enough margin to get your foot in the door with Google search campaigns. Now, if you take the time to check your Google ads and look at your brand and see if any of these bottlenecks are holding you back, it may be the case that there's one simple thing in here which could unlock massive scaling for your brand through Google search ads. Or if you're sat there looking at your Google Ads account and you can't find what the bottlenecks are, then book in a call with our team in the description below. We will audit your Google Ads account completely for free and find all of the bottlenecks such as these that are holding you back from scaling in 2026. So as I say, you can get your free audit in the description below. But that is all for this one. If you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.